There are days when you feel like you've done almost nothing at all. You sleep more than usual. You lie in bed for hours, scrolling through your phone, watching videos, avoiding long conversations, even avoiding thinking too deeply. You think your body just needs a little more rest, but strangely, the more you rest, the more exhausted you feel. The more you try to recharge your energy, the emptier you become inside. And then at some point you begin to ask yourself, why am I still so tired, even after resting all day? Buddhism, thousands of years ago, already saw a truth that modern people often fail to realize. The greatest exhaustion does not come from the body, but from a trapped mind. There are people who work 10 hours a day, yet their hearts remain light as clouds. And there are people who do almost nothing, yet their hearts feel as heavy as if they were dragging an invisible mountain behind them. The problem was never simply how many hours you sleep, or whether you rest enough. The real question is, while your body is resting, has your mind truly rested? Many people believe exhaustion is a sign of lacking energy, but sometimes exhaustion is the sign of a silent battle that has lasted for far too long inside you. A battle without noise, without bloodshed, one no one else can see, yet it slowly consumes you day after day. It is the battle of unhealed thoughts, nameless worries, pressures you never dared admit even to yourself, emotions swallowed for so long that they became invisible burdens crushing the soul. Have you noticed there are nights when you sleep for many hours, yet when you wake up your heart still feels unbearably heavy, not because your body lacked sleep, but because your heart was never truly at peace? You carry yesterday's thoughts into your sleep. You place tomorrow's worries beside your pillow, and then you hope that a few hours of closed eyes can heal everything. But the mind does not work that way. A mind that has not learned to let go continue draining energy even while you are asleep. According to the teachings of the Buddha, people suffer not because life itself is too heavy, but because they constantly resist reality. We want everything to happen according to our wishes. We want others to understand us. We want the past to have been different. We want the future to feel more certain. And within that endless attempt to control life, the mind never truly rests. Even while lying still in bed, inside you are still running through old memories, running through things that have not yet happened, running through fears no one knows about. The sad thing is that modern society makes people believe that resting simply means stopping the body, but you can lie still all day and still feel exhausted. If your mind never stops trembling with noise, a lake cannot reflect the sky if its surface is constantly disturbed, and the human soul is the same. When the inside is always filled with noise, you will feel tired, even if you have barely done anything. Some people are not truly exhausted because of work. They are exhausted from pretending to be strong, exhausted from smiling while falling apart inside, exhausted from constantly trying to become the version of themselves others expect them to be. Every day feels like an endless performance, and what drains them most is that they no longer remember what it feels like to truly live as themselves. Buddhism calls this a separation from one's true nature. When people live too long in anxiety, comparison, and expectation, they slowly lose connection with the present moment. They eat without tasting their food. They walk while their minds are somewhere else. They rest while tension still fills them inside. And then they wonder why life keeps feeling heavier, Even though everything outwardly seems normal, the truth is that there are kinds of exhaustion that sleep cannot heal. It is the exhaustion of a soul neglected for far too long, a heart that has silently endured for years, a spirit so used to forcing itself forward that it no longer remembers what true relaxation feels like. Modern people are often afraid of silence because when every sound disappears, they begin to hear themselves, and sometimes that is more terrifying than any noise in the outside world. So they continue filling life with phones, social media, work, entertainment, not because they are happy, but because they do not want to face the emptiness inside. But the more they run away, the more exhausted the mind becomes. The Buddha once taught that peace does not come from gaining more things, but from letting go of the things weighing down the mind. Perhaps what you need is not a few more hours of sleep. Perhaps what you truly need is a moment to finally relax your soul. Just once. Stop forcing yourself to be strong. Stop trying to control everything. Stop living as though life is a race with no finish line, because sometimes what exhausts you most is not that life is too difficult, but that you have been fighting it for far too long. And maybe, after all those days that seem like nothing but rest, what your body was truly trying to say was never "I need more sleep," but rather, "This soul has gone far too long without peace." There is a truth that many people only realize after years of living in exhaustion. The human body does not become tired only because of labor. It also becomes tired from carrying too many things that do not belong to it. Suppressed emotions, sorrows that were never named, expectations placed on your shoulders by others, the pressure to succeed, to stay strong, to appear okay even while falling apart inside. All of these things silently drain your life energy every single day, like a leaking container losing itself from within without you even noticing. Some people wake up in the morning already feeling heavy, even though they slept enough the night before, not because they are lazy, not because they are weak, but because their minds have never truly rested. In Buddhism, the mind is like a flame. When ambition, anxiety, fear, and regret are constantly thrown into it, that flame will keep burning endlessly. And the frightening part is that many people have lived in that slow-burning state for so long that they believe it is normal. You can see this very clearly in modern life. People have more conveniences than ever before, yet less peace than ever before. We can sit still for hours, but our minds never stop moving. We bring our phones into our sleep, bring work into our meals, bring worries into every breath. The mind is constantly stretched between the past and the future until the present moment becomes a luxury few people can still truly feel. That is why some people can rest for an entire week and still not recover their energy, because what exhausts them does not lie in their muscles, but in their souls. A heart that must always endure will gradually become heavy. A mind that constantly overthinks will slowly wear itself down. And then one day, even the smallest tasks began to feel unbearable. The Buddha once taught that suffering comes from attachment. We cling tightly to what has already passed. We cling to the image of who we want to become. We cling to people who no longer belong to us. We cling to recognition from the outside world. And every time life does not unfold the way we want, the mind resists, becomes tense, and wounds itself again. Many people do not realize that they are living like warriors who were never allowed to leave the battlefield. Even while sitting in a quiet room, Inside, they are always on guard, always afraid of being hurt, always afraid of failure, always anxious about tomorrow. They no longer know what true relaxation feels like, and because of that, even while resting, they continue consuming energy. There is a kind of exhaustion deeper than lack of sleep. It is the exhaustion of losing meaning in life. When every day repeats itself like an endless cycle, people begin to feel empty. They wake up no longer because of joy, but because of responsibility. They smile not because they are happy, but because they do not want anyone to realize how exhausted they truly are. Slowly, life becomes a series of days spent merely surviving instead of truly living. In Buddhist philosophy, the deepest cause of suffering does not lie in circumstances, but in the way the mind reacts to circumstances. Two people can experience the same hardship, yet one sinks into pain, while the other still maintains inner peace. The difference does not lie in the outside world, but within the inner self. When the mind constantly fights against reality, it consumes an enormous amount of energy. The more you think things should not be this way, the more suffering you create for yourself. And, strangely, most human exhaustion does not come from the present moment, but from constantly thinking about things that have not even happened yet. Worrying about the future is like sitting safely in a chair while imagining yourself falling off a cliff. The body is not in danger, but the mind has already activated exhaustion within itself. Many people spend their entire lives trying to heal the body, while forgetting to heal the soul. They drink coffee to stay awake, yet do not understand why their spirit feels increasingly drained. They search for motivation from the outside world without realizing that what they truly lack is inner stillness. The Buddha did not teach people to escape life. He taught them how to live without being drowned by it. That means you still work, still face difficulties, still walk through days that are not easy, but inside, you are no longer swept away by the storm of thoughts. A strong tree is not strong because it never faces the wind, but because it knows how to remain standing within the storm. Perhaps what exhausts you is not that you are doing too much, but that you are thinking too much about everything. You try to control what cannot be controlled. Try to hold on to things already leaving. Try to become the perfect version of yourself in order to be loved. But the more you try, the more rigid the mind becomes, and a rigid mind will never know peace. Look at a river. It does not try to hold the water in place. It allows everything to flow naturally. That is why the river always moves gently. Human beings suffer because they want to hold on forever to things that are impermanent. They want to hold on to youth, hold on to emotions, hold on to relationships that have already changed. But life does not stand still simply because we are not ready to let go. There are wounds invisible to the eyes, yet they exhaust the soul more than any labor ever could. A sentence that hurt you years ago, a betrayal, a feeling of never being good enough that has followed you since childhood. All of these things remain hidden in the subconscious, silently controlling your emotions and draining your life energy every day. And then one day, you realize that what you truly need is not more time to rest. What you need is to learn how to live more lightly. Learn not to carry everything inside your heart. Learn how to sit still without being dragged away by thousands of thoughts. Learn to accept that not everything needs to be solved immediately, because true peace does not come when life becomes perfect. It comes when your mind no longer fights against everything, And then, even an ordinary day begins to feel lighter. Even a breath becomes deeper. Waking up in the morning no longer feels like a burden. And for the first time in a very long time, you feel that you're not merely existing, but truly living. And one day, you will realize that what exhausts people the most is not working too much, but living too far away from themselves. We spend so much time trying to meet the expectations of the world that we forget to listen to the quiet voice within. We learn how to run fast, but no one teaches us how to stop. We learn how to endure, but not how to heal. We learn how to survive among crowds, yet lose the ability to sit peacefully with our own souls. There are people who spend their whole lives searching for energy outside themselves. A longer vacation, deeper sleep, another job, another city, another relationship. But no matter where they go, they still carry that exhaustion within them, because the place that truly needs healing was never the outside world, but the silently fractured inner self within them. Buddhism says that all suffering begins when the mind leaves the present moment. When people constantly regret the past or fear the future, they no longer have enough energy to live for this moment. And the saddest thing is that many people exist in their own lives like shadows. They wake up, work, eat, talk, and sleep, yet never truly feel life touching them. You may look at the sky on a beautiful afternoon, but your mind is so heavy that you can no longer see its beauty. You may sit beside someone you love, yet still feel full of anxiety and emptiness inside, not because life no longer contains beautiful things, but because your mind has become too exhausted to feel them. That is something very few people realize. An exhausted soul makes the entire world feel heavy. It is not that the sunlight disappears, but that the inner eyes no longer carry light. It is not that life loses meaning, but that the heart has gone too long without true rest. True rest is not lying down and escaping life for a few hours. True rest is when you no longer have to fight against yourself. It is when you stop blaming yourself for not being good enough. Stop forcing yourself to be perfect. Stop trying to please everyone. It is the moment you accept that you are simply a human being learning how to move through life with all the wounds and limitations that naturally come with it. There is a strange kind of peace that appears when people stop trying to control everything. When you understand that not every relationship will last forever, not every effort will be seen, not every wound will have a clear answer, and yet, even so, you continue living, lighter, deeper, and more awake. The Buddha never promised that life would be free from suffering, but he showed that human beings can live without being consumed by suffering. And the difference lies in how we face our own minds. A person who does not understand the mind will be dragged around by every emotion. They feel happy when they are recognized and collapse when they are rejected. They live like a dry leaf carried endlessly by the winds of life. But a person who learns to turn inward will gradually discover a place of peace that the outside world can never take away. Perhaps today you are still very tired. There are still nights when you cannot sleep for no reason. There is still heaviness every time you open your eyes in the morning. But please remember, you do not need to heal everything in a single day. A river does not become clear after only one rainfall. A soul also needs time to recover after enduring too much for too long. Start with small things. One slower breath. One morning without reaching for your phone immediately after waking up. One moment of sitting quietly without forcing yourself to do anything. One time, allowing yourself to be weak without feeling guilty. Sometimes healing does not come from dramatic changes, but from finally stopping the ways you hurt yourself. Modern life makes people believe that their value lies in productivity, that if you rest, you are falling behind. But the soul does not function like a machine. If you keep forcing yourself to run endlessly, eventually the inside will become completely drained, and at that point, no success will ever be large enough to fill the emptiness within you. Perhaps what you need most right now is not to try harder. Perhaps what you truly need is to learn how to be gentle with yourself, to look at the wounds inside without judgment, to accept that there are times when you are weak, lost, and exhausted. Because true strength is not found in constantly forcing yourself to endure. It is found in the ability to let go of the things that have weighed down your soul for far too long. One day, you will understand that peace is not the state where every problem disappears. Peace is when, in the middle of all the chaos, your mind remains calm enough not to lose yourself, and then you will no longer ask, "Why am I still tired after resting all day?" Because you will understand that the thing most needing rest was never only the body, but the soul that has silently endured for far too long.